Welcome to some One Piece action. If you're new to the channel, please give us a subscribe. And if you're a returning viewer and have not subscribed yet, please give us a subscribe. Definitely helps the channel grow. Alright. So, another leader that it was taking us forever to build. Sorry for the misplay at the opening. I think my homie forgot that you can just use your leader ability to just draw a card. But anyway, it is what it is. What you call it? So the strategy here, like I said, it took a while for me to truly understand uh, Vivi. And like I said, I think a lot of these leaders were just built with a different perspective, right? They got created. I felt like they didn't expect the meta to go in the directions that it went. I think they expected, 3 and 4 drops to see more play. I think they expected vanillas to see play in general, you know? So as the community kind of just went their own routes, I'm just like, okay, cool. Don management has always been the real struggle for things. And I think that's what plays a role for Vivi, because the biggest chore is you give something rush, but then it's like, how much Dawn do you need? Is the rush worth it? You're not even thinking about drawing a card at this point, right? You're so focused on, damn, it takes 6 Dawn to just make this play, and then I can't do nothing else, So that made things complicated and frustrating, especially on a defensive standpoint. So my thing was like, okay, I built this I built the deck essentially to be able to play behind the curve. So that's what my thought process was. But of course, if you can or need to play on curve, that's fine, right? So in other words, like Cavendish, 4 Dawn, right? Obviously, you can play him when you only have 4 Dawn, that's fine. All right, then you have 6 Dawn. Now in theory, you could play him and then give him rush. Boom. Now, but you may be vulnerable, So if you have 8 Dawn, you play him, you give him rush. Now you have 2 Dawn to be able to defend him. So that's kind of the strategy. It's like, okay, once you reach a certain Dawn state, it's more comfortable to execute the entirety of what the deck is trying to do. Once again, you play accordingly, of course, but yeah, it's like we have events, and I think it's called Happiness Punch. I think it's one of the best red events in the game, to be able to play defense against 2 characters if need be. I think that's fine. I think that's golden. And of course, another thing that can give Green Zoro a hard time if you hate playing against that leader. So yeah, I'm just like, okay, we just need to be able to manage Dawn, and that's it. And so that's essentially what it is. It's just a build that can make the most of Dawn from now on, right? In regards to Vivi, that is. I think Boa is one of the better cards. And I think in this matchup, I want to say, for the most part, my friend has not really been playing behind the curve. And Magellan kind of created a little bit of a hiccup, right? I ain't going to lie to you. But yeah, you see, you can still play the deck however you want to play. I'm just saying, if you play behind the curve, your reward is your ability to defend your board if need be. So the benefit of Boa, I felt like there's 2 things when it comes to Boa. Let's say that. So the first upfront thing is, the biggest prize that Boa is providing is freezing an attack, because it puts your opponent at the same tempo that you're stuck to. Your leader can't attack. That's one less attack for you compared to your opponent. You play Boa, now you're even, but you could make the argument not quite even, because if you're freezing, like in this circumstance, 8-drop Croc, that is a bigger attack. You just froze that attack. And so it's like, yeah, in this situation, they can attack with their leader still, sure, but they can't use this card. So tempo wise, it puts you on almost an even playing field. You could kind of say it makes it better for you when you think about it. Like, 8-drop Croc is 9,000 power, if I'm remembering correctly. That's a lot, so you froze that. That's fine. See, right now it's just a lot of abuse. Lucky for us, we got to have a healthy board state. Now, once we get to our 10 Dawn state, right, you can see we clearly got We got counter power in hand. We got an event in hand. We got a healthy board. What do you call it? The opponent. Now, okay, here's another thing. If the board is looking a little healthy and the opponent wants to attack it, it's something I always say, right? Like 6,000 power is easier to defend than 5,000. 8,000 power is easier to defend than 5,000. So, granted, you still gotta, try to keep your leader alive, yes. But what do you call it? If you need to protect your board, because that's the advantage when it comes to leaders that can't attack, the advantage, which it's kind of the rule of thumb of One Piece, but more so against leaders that can't attack, is to control their board, attack their board, get characters off their board, and they're in trouble, because guess what? When they have no characters, that means no attack. So yeah, that's why it's like, to me, it's real important to be able to protect your board. So that's why I kind of constructed the tempo of the deck in this manner. And anyway, I kind of drifted from Boa, right? I said two things. The other thing that helped me understand this deck, thanks to Boa, is the stat line. Let's just say the stat line. So 6 drops are the golden ticket, the bread and butter of Vivi. Okay, your 6 drops, because they provide power, they provide the combo play with the leader, so 6, 8, and they provide Dawn for you to play defensively. So 6 is the golden spot for Vivi. Okay, and then Boa being an 8,000 power 6 drop is just phenomenal for Vivi. And then as backup, we do have Kuzan, right? So Kuzan comes out, discard a card, freeze something, and if you have a certain amount of cards in hand, which, it wouldn't work right now, but I think it's 5 or less, right? I think it's 5 or less. So his cost goes up when he's on the board, making him stickier. So yeah. So anybody that wants to dabble in Vivi, I highly recommend just really cater to the 6 drop curve. Just cater to that number, and you're going to be able to have a nicer performance. And I'm not saying, you can see Rayleigh in our hand. I'm not saying, you can't play anything higher than 6, but you have to, whatever you play that's above 6 has to really be worth it. It has to count. The higher it is, the more it has to count. Because in theory, you play a 10 drop, right? You have no attack, like just creating the circumstance here, and you don't have any defense outside of, characters with counter power, right? So if I'm gonna play a 10 drop with Vivi, the 10 drop has to count. I gotta make that 10 drop count. So think of it that way. The further down the cost ladder you go, the more options you get, so it's safer. Get rid of that. See, we can give Rayleigh Rush if we want, which that's what's happening. And our board state is just golden, so very dangerous for our opponent. But yeah, so the further down the cost ladder you go, the more it has to be worth it, right? So 10, no leader ability. 9, no leader ability, but you get a Dawn for an event. 8, you got leader ability and you got Dawn for events. Keep that in mind. Rayleigh, great combo with Vivi, because you can essentially remove something and then swing on the other thing that you just lowered the power for. Okay, cool. And Rayleigh has a good stat line, of course, right? Then you go to 7, right? 7 gives you the ability to use leader ability and have 1 Dawn up for defensive events. And of course, 6, the golden number in my opinion, it gives you 2 Dawn. So it pretty much gives you the core access to defensive event and rush. So that's it. And 4 is is also very important. Yes, 4 is also very important. Yes, do not negate the 4. Just throwing that out there. So you'll see that we have that chopper that looks like Nami, if I'm correct. That's a good stat line. You play that. You draw a card, you swing for 6, 5 Dawn value. That's phenomenal, right? Because usually rush cards get understated or lose counter power. So That's a pretty good stat line. Obviously, your opponent goes, it weakens, but they attack it, you get to draw again. So you're just gaining more value, getting more cards in your hand. That's great. That's pretty cool. So yeah, you could find good quality 3-drops. You could find good quality 4-drops. Of course, Cavendish, as you can see, probably the best 4-drop for this leader. And you could probably find whatever 5-drop you want to use, you know? And but like I said, essentially the original structure of this build was 6 drops. 6 drops was like the boss card essentially. That's it. We focused on that and then we built around it. We're like, okay, if we go any higher, the card has to count. It has to just make the most sense. It has to give us the most. So that's my advice to anybody building a Vivi deck. And hopefully things flow well for you. Oh, you know what? So you see that blue Perona, right? Being that, Vivi uses so many miscellaneous cards, it's like the closest, it's basically a universal searcher. That's Perona. Perona is basically a universal searcher. So you got Perona and then you got Vivi's ability. You can kind of just set up the sequence of cards that you want to see quicker. So it's just like, oh, we can draw this now. We can draw this one later and So yeah, I think that helps things flow. You always want to try to create some consistency when it comes to One Piece, right? Consistency is a good thing. Oh, they just burned a life. Swing for 6. There is benefit in being a 5-life leader. Granted, we can't attack, but 5 is such a healthy stat line. And then we draw. So that play allowed us a moment of aggression and access to 2 cards. So I think so in theory, like, you attack your opponent. There's a lot of things that can happen, right? But you attack, your opponent counters out, so they lose a card, take a life, they lose a life, or you attack a character, they lose a character, right? I think that's a lovely trade-off for what that overall play gives you. Your opponent loses and you gain. So yeah, I think that card is a great addition. And then I love the Law, another 6-drop. Like I said, the sweet spot for Vivi. I feel like there's an adult joke in there, but anyway, Law, he hits the board, you give him rush, and then he does the attack minus 2,000. Just to make it easier, I always imagine just the negative, just add it. So he's 7, 8, 9. So it's like you get a value of a 9K swing, a value of a 9 synthetic value of a 9K swing. That way you don't have to like do the mathematics for each unique scenario, right? Like, because when you think of power reduction, technically you have to know who you're reducing the power for. So then, just to make it easy, you just be like a value of a 9K swing. So you already know what 9K to 10 drop would be, to this drop, to that drop. Well, that's not enough if they're 12K. That's not enough if they're But immediately, the 7K Law can attack and threaten any character with a 9K power because of that subtraction ability. So those who get it, and those who don't, hopefully it makes sense after I say what I said. But the point is, yeah, you play that Law, you give him rush. So 6, 7, 8 with a 9K synthetic 9K value, and he has the ability to be sticky. Like, think about that. That's too much value. And then you could just keep attacking and keep getting the power reduction. That is lots of value in that play. You draw a card, you swing on something, and I have a better chance of surviving than the average card. So I think that Law is a great addition to Vivi. Yeah, there was so much for me to say about Vivi. Okay, let me see. My friend has gotten better at piloting Vivi, so we might have another video. So in the next video, There'll be more gameplay commentary, but hopefully I broke down everything that needed to be broken down about the thought process of the build, what the build is trying to go for, yada yada, and what I feel like the leader needs. But any questions y'all have, feel free to ask in the comments. I think that Stussy card is real good for eggheads. Real solid card. We're kind of, it's nuts to see how low we're running on fumes. We have the potential, like, I don't know if it's the right play or not, but like, we technically have the potential to, like right now, Cavendish can hit the board, give it rush, draw a card, swing, draw 2, trash 1. So we can, okay, that's what's gonna happen. And we have 2 Don available to we have 4 Don, I'm sorry. We have 4 Don available to have access for our defensive events. Yep, let's get those things ready. Oh no! Cavendish is a very effective battery, as you saw in the last match. A very effective battery for Vivi. You get to draw so many cards up front. Oh my god. Yeah, you get to draw so many cards up front. And then if it stays on the board, you just get more and more benefit. Okay, we surviving. I said, hey, we basically nullified the leader swing completely. I don't know if the math could have been a bit better. I have no clue, but are we going for game? They got 3 cards in hand, 4 active Dawn. That's nuts. Give it a rush. That's disgusting. I wonder if the 3 cards, imagine if the 3 cards, listen, I'm gonna tell you what I would have done. I would have just started attacking board. Okay, I don't know what they got from life, to be honest, but if they had bricks, oh my god, that board would have been clean, because if I'm remembering correctly, we had 2 life cards. So that board would have got cleaned up, and they would have basically, question mark, had no plays, and that probably could have got the easy game next turn. I don't know. But I ain't gonna lie. Me personally, I would have went for board. But yeah, I think that's the goal of Vivi. The goal and strength is that she's more of a leader. Because that's another thing about us One Piece players. Sometimes we're a little greedy. We want access to things now, immediately, consistently, yada yada. But I think the leader shines in the late game more so. When you have 10 Dawn, you can make bigger and better plays. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like at this point, everything that's hitting the board is getting rush. I want to say that's another thing that the developers imagine, is that it's like, hey, play rush. I think there's just a certain point in the game where that's expected. You play the card, you give it rush. Play a card, give it rush. Play a card, give it rush. But once again, that's about Dawn management. And I felt like, it took a while for us to get where we're at when it comes to how we as players manage our Dawn count. We should have bottom decked the other thing. Okay, I like this play. I like plays where you don't attack. Just as in general, I guess, Because a lot of times the game can change dramatically because you chose not to attack, for the better. For the better. And that's another skill, right? It's like knowing when to take life is probably the hardest thing in One Piece, in my personal opinion. Knowing what's worth defending is second place, and then what do you got? You got Don management. Yeah. But anyway, just the difficulties of One Piece, and then knowing when it's worth attacking or just leaving your characters active. I think I could put that at the bottom because there's so much reward in just attacking every turn anyway, that it's rare to find those moments when it's like, hey, maybe I shouldn't attack. Maybe I should just let my opponent go. So that way I can at least, if they attack me, I guarantee have weapons for a counterattack. But usually the best thing to do is, hey, if I can't protect this card, I shouldn't attack with it. That's like, to keep it simple and make it easy for yourself. But yeah, I would probably rank those things in order. Life, knowing when to take life is probably the hardest thing. Knowing when it's worth protecting your board is second. Managing your Dawn count, third. And then knowing when to just not attack, fourth. I'll do it that way. That's my little rankings. They are protecting. See, here's this. They chucked all that valuable resource. Just chuck to protect that one card. When they basically could have been let it go, gain some cards from life so they have more fuel in their hands, and then just establish a dominant play. See, now you just got one card in your hand when you could have been at like 3 or 4. So yeah. And you chuck the green Zoro, so you probably could have just had that card on the board, because I think it gives you an active Dawn at the end of your turn, right? No, it restands itself. So does it give you active Dawn when you play it? Overall point is you probably could have had like a bigger, better play, but you really, really wanted to protect that Luffy. Well, we have a 2K. We do have a 2K 1K, but there we go. We chose to take. I'm okay with that. That's crazy. It's like if we knew we was gonna get a Kuzan, we probably could have chucked the Boa instead of the what do you call that? The Jozu. But Jozu's pretty fun too, because Jozu, you can play, bounce back something, so you really hurt your opponent's board tempo, and then give it rush and then draw a card. So I think Jozu gives lots of value. And then now that we're at where we're at in the concept of One Piece, right? It's like bouncing a card back like a 1-drop searcher. It gives you counter power, which is lovely. And it also, if you really want to or need to, you could just play the card again. It could be a searcher, it could be an Otama, yada yada. So I think that's really cool. So Jozu plus Vivi is great value. Play, bounce, draw, rush, yada yada. I think Jozu complements Vivi well. Yeah, this Luffy's pretty exhausted. At this point, they're better off just like low key. Just attack with lead, attack with, they're doing it. That's exactly what I was thinking. Attack with lead and attack with Nami. Okay, they used the Zoro. I was thinking essentially leave the Zoro alone, because at this point you need to take some life cards. You need some of those cards in your hand, and they're playing way too defensive. See, for me, I think the strength of that Luffy leader is the ability to save cards in your hand, essentially. You know, you use his leader ability to save the cards in your hand. You know, if you're chucking a bunch, it kind of defeats the purpose, low key. In a perfect world, all your defense comes from your leader ability. Talking about that Luffy, of course. We probably could have sequenced that better. If basically, yeah, you pick the power reduce, then KO. Yeah, because we could have had Perona attack into the. Well, this works too, right? Yeah, similar value. Yeah, it's fine. Oh, wow. Respect. Respect. Okay, we chose not to, give Rayleigh rush and attack. We only got 1 life left, but we do have events. We do have counter power. Ooh, that kind of sucks. Yeah, we just got to defend against this, which we do. The beauty of active Dawn. Yep, give that rush. You gotta love the value. We got 5 Dawn. Technically, we could just develop another one, so that way we can have another body on the board ready to swing next turn. And that's what we're doing. Yep. And then see, we got 2 active Dawn. Russia is the only real threat, but if the more stuff they play, the more Dawn they lose out on. Man, our board is full and delicious. Okay. I respect it. Because it would be good to just play Boa, give Boa rush, attack. Or maybe that's what we should have did. We probably should just attack. And then just use Boa at the end. I mean, this works out too, right? We don't need to be like greedy like that. Like, come on now. Why we not chuck a Boa? We got 2. We could have chucked 1 and kept counter power. That's that greed. Essentially, we want to make sure our opponent is crippled, I guess. I don't know. Because, of course, what you call it, they play anything, we freeze it. Next turn, we get another freeze option. So that's probably what we was looking at. They're on the brink of losing right now, though. Either you got mad bricks in your hand, because you could have probably stopped the Boa attack, yeah. Just rest 2, boom. Then same thing. You could essentially rest 2, boom. And worst case scenario, chuck 1 card. Yep, power reduce. Oh, we did everything to their leader and took that. Interesting. And then 2K. Ugh, man, such a sad story. Yep. Damn, they must have bricks. Well, a G. Thanks for watching.